We're here. We're not queer.
And unfortunately, we can't audio
And absolutely
test.
nobody is going to be here because otherwise, because why would you be here when
why
the
would
sequel game is being played right now?
Yeah, why would you be here for Spider Undies when you could be here for Spider Undies with Venom?
Yeah,
anyway,
like, no reason anyone should be watching this.
Hello, people. This is TBGN. Now I'm your host, Younger Bro.
I'm your other host, Older Bro.
And we're not streaming Spider-Man 2 today, and we're continuing our playthrough with Spider-Man 1
yeah,
Remastered.
we will not be streaming Spider-Man 2 for probably like a year and a half to 2 years.
Okay, so we're done streaking. We're going to the homemade suit from
Thank the Lord!
Spider-Man Homecoming. So I have some things I want to talk about, but after JJ gets done talking.
This isn't the Spider-Man we know, but some sort of metal mohawk wearing.
Okay, we definitely saw this one last time.
What if there's more than one?
That's a good shot right there.
Jared, go to break.
Oh.
I need to lie down.
Yeah, we definitely saw that one last time, so it just played it again for some reason.
Yeah, it will recycle through old ones.
Disappointing.
Let me see.
That's audio recordings.
Yep, you're right. So how many are we up to now?
79.
Out of like what, 84?
Something like that.
Okay. So topic for discussion once again is Biggerfoot.
What?
But I'll talk about him here in a second. I need to figure out what I'm doing. So, okay. I have to slingshot.
Oh, Lord.
Slingshot off of roofs 1,000 times.
While running upwards, slingshot up the top of roofs 1,000 times. You just have to do it another 475 times.
Swing near ground level, which is the one we were working
For
on.
100,000 meters. We're up to
60,000.
Wait, hold on. 100,000. Okay, yes, never mind. So yeah, 64,000.
So okay, we'll continue with that.
The problem
Okay.
is there's no good way to see how far we're getting on this.
Yeah, I'm assuming I'm doing fine.
Yeah. Well, I would check right now and make sure that number has gone up. Just to make sure we're not stupid.
64,375.
I believe that was higher than the last one.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Okay. So, let's talk about Bigfoot a little bit today.
Okay.
So, I'm learning all sorts of new things from Bigfoot that I didn't even expect to be learning.
Uh-huh.
So, when you think of Bigfoot, what type of noises do you typically think it would make?
No idea. I am not a crypto
Mr.
zoologist.
B, how are you here and not watching a playthrough Spider-Man 2?
Well, to be fair, Mr. B is contractually required to be here as our executive producer.
Fair enough.
So, but yeah, out of anyone else, there should be no one else watching the stream because literally Spider-Man 2 is being played right now. That has to be more interesting than watching us do the fucking benchmarks in this game.
Yeah. So,
But how are you doing, Mr. B?
So when you think of Bigfoot and its sounds it makes, it's usually the wailing sounds, right?
Sure.
Anyway, like that's how it literally fucking screams its guts out.
Yeah.
Like a good example of this would be like the Sierra sounds.
Uh-huh.
If you don't know what those are, you Google them, and it's like a 4 to 10 minute long like audio recording of just wailing at night in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so that's usually the type of sound that Bigfoot is connected to, just really gut-wrenching, loud wailing sounds.
Sure.
I didn't know this, but apparently they have some ability to mimic. And I'm not thinking like wailing, mimicking like a bear or coyote. No. I'm saying like macaw levels of mimicking. Like, you can hear voices. You can even hear women screaming or men screaming. And apparently they can even mimic the sounds of babies crying. Like, that is insane to think about.
Yeah, Mr. B, I hope that I don't know. Should we be hoping that we put you more to sleep or less to sleep here? I'm not sure which one of those is even viable for us. I don't think that we have ASMR qualities, especially given younger bro constantly screaming.
But yeah, sorry guys, this just interests me because again, I wanted to be a field biologist, and you should study some of the things that can't exactly be easily explained.
Yeah. Younger bro wanted to be a field biologist. Instead, he became a cryptozoologist.
I probably wouldn't have wanted to do that. I would have to go out and look for these creatures. Yeah, no.
I mean, you don't technically have to go out and look for them to be a cryptozoologist. It's more just you study them.
I know.
So it's like, you could do second, what is that called? When you're sourcing somebody, it's a secondary. You could secondary source cryptozoology. You could be the guy who analyzes the data. You can do that at home.
But yeah, I have never heard of a Bigfoot mimicking like children voices, like macaw levels. Like, again, you see it with birds. Birds mimic. But how is it possible that an ape can do it?
Yeah. See, guys, I've said many times I am not a big cryptozoologist person. I'm like, I find the things people believe in interesting, but I also find them quite disappointing. I'm like, why did we go from believing in like things like Amaterasu and like all kinds of yokai and like creatures like that to just generic Bigfoot? I don't know. I feel like we've made our supernatural beliefs more boring as time has gone on.
But no, like the sounds I could get over, but there's some more concerning facts I've also just discovered.
Sure.
Apparently, there have been reports that Bigfoot can take over your mind and force you to do things. But that typically is told in stories of like a Wendigo or...
I was going to say, yeah, that's definitely more ancient belief practices, which are much more interesting. So you know what? I have to applaud the people who are making some of this shit up for trying to integrate Wendigo stuff into Bigfoot. That makes them more interesting to me.
However, there's also a type of Bigfoot that can do this, and that's typically a Kushtaka.
Yeah.
And Kushtaka is just Bigfoot in some kind of Indian language, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, here, this is where I need to put my foot down on this. This is not me doubting the existence of Bigfoot. This is me upset at the cryptozoology community as a whole. Why the fuck does everything have to be Bigfoot? Like, we do not need the Jersey Devil to be a type of Bigfoot. And, like, any of the other cryptozoology creatures that just pop up in random places. They don't need to be types of Bigfoot. Everyone's just like, oh, it's the Yeti. It's just the Arctic Bigfoot. And it's like, no! They should be completely different fucking creatures. Why is everyone just like, they're all just the Bigfoot Yeti type creature? But in different countries. It's like, no!
But think about it. It is possible. Like,
it's
think
possible,
about it
but it's just like,
with bears.
We don't just assume. Yes, I get it with bears. I understand.
Like,
and a lot of these sightings of Bigfoot are just bears. So, but that's not the point here. My point here is, like, it causes stuff like this. In the past, you'd have things like Wendigos, and other random creatures that would each have their own defined characteristics. Mind controlling would be a creature that's completely different from a Bigfoot, which would be completely different from another creature. And nowadays, it's just like, we saw something supernatural, let's say a Bigfoot did it. And it's like, be more fucking creative. This entire industry is about being creative. Like, as a YouTuber / creative person, I applaud the cryptozoology community for their work in keeping mythological things alive. I like the idea of cool mythological creatures existing. I'm not going to sit back and say I don't want Tsukinokos to exist. They're cool. I want to own a Dunsparce. That's not the point here. The point here is that stop assigning everything to Bigfoot. Define what Bigfoot is. And then say, okay, that's Bigfoot. And then assign the other stuff to creatures that are not in any way related to Bigfoot.
Like, some of the Bigfoot we have are actually kind of based on what eyewitnesses would report.
Yeah. But that's the point, is that the problem is all this is entirely going to be speculation and hearsay because no one has ever caught a Bigfoot or any of these creatures. So you can't get scientific data. It's hard to get scientific data on something you can't find proof of.
Yeah, so
this is why the scientific community, of which I am included, roll my eyes at this. Because it's like, you have written a cool fantasy novel, dude. Give us some actual evidence. Like, how about you catch one in a cage? How about you cut off one of their feet?
Yeah, I almost want to say Acoustica is vastly different from a Bigfoot.
Yeah, it sounds completely different.
And here's why. For starters, it can take over people's minds and have you do who the hell knows what.
Yep.
For long periods of time, and you have no idea how long it is.
Yep.
Two, it's also reportedly semi-aquatic.
Yeah. So okay, actually, this leads back to a different argument. So this kind of thing has happened before in mythological and fantasy, and it's most prevalent in dragons. So, for example, what is it you think of when you think of a dragon?
A flying monster that breathes fire.
Okay, so what you think of is the classic dragon, has probably four
Something
legs,
from Lord of the Rings.
Exactly. The Smog style dragon. That's probably most people's immediate assumptions when you hear the word dragon. The problem is, that is not what dragons are. Dragons are whatever the fucking author says they are. And I don't mean that from a taxonomy standpoint. I like the idea of that being a dragon. What you have described, that is a dragon. The problem is, in literature and in fantasy and in media, anytime dragons come up, it could be any goddamn thing you want it to be. You can have anything from Smog to Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. You can have anything from Spyro the Dragon, who is not a dragon. Like, you can, like... I say this as a person. So, for anyone who is not aware, I am developing a fantasy board game / tabletop RPG. Because, of course, I am. I'm a nerd, and nerds have nothing better than to create tabletop RPGs. So, I've had to go through and do actual taxonomical studies of dragons because, like every fantasy creator ever, they think dragons are cool and want to include dragons in their story. It's a very common thing. The problem is, dragon doesn't mean anything. So, I'm gonna pull up my taxonomy of dragons, and I'll get back to you guys with trying to explain what dragons are. This would be the prompt where I'm saying that you can talk about other things temporarily while I look this up, because it may take about 5 minutes.
You won't be paying attention.
I'll still be paying attention. I just have to find where I put down stuff about dragons.
But anyway, so say there is a lot of different types of Bigfoot. I do agree that we shouldn't associate with a different animal with Bigfoot. However, what's interesting about the Kushtaka, when you find tracks of the creature, it resembles Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So that could leave you to believe that it is indeed a semi-aquatic Bigfoot that somehow has mind-controlling powers.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. So I did find my list. So, the thing that you are describing, the one that's what most people think of dragons, is generally classified as a chromatic dragon. The reason they're called chromatic dragons is because A, D&D called them that, and B, it's because they breathe the element of their type. So that's the normal one. Then you have things like the Hydra,
Yep.
which people tend to consider a dragon or dragon-like. So normal dragons have 4 legs and 2 wings. 2 wings. And can fly. Hydras have 4 legs. They have no wings. They cannot fly. Then we have things that are drakes. Drakes are dragons, or specifically, they are 4-legged dragons with no wings. They cannot fly. Then you get into Chinese dragons.
Which are Shenron.
Yeah, you get into Shenron. Stuff like Shenron, they can fly, but they have no wings.
Local units, we're getting reports of muggings in the area.
So it's like,
Officers needed.
okay,
Please copy.
how the hell's that work? Also, those are generally known as wind or long dragons. Just to tell you what they're described as. Then you get shit like the basilisk. Now, I want to stop anyone who is about to say, oh yes, I know the basilisk. That thing from Harry Potter. That is not a basilisk. J.K. Rowling
their
got that wrong.
Basilisk.
No, it isn't a basilisk. There's a name for that thing. It's called a worm. It's not a basilisk. They just used the wrong fucking dragon type. She used the wrong name. She was wrong. A basilisk has 8 legs. It is just a dragon with 8 legs. One of the most famous basilisks is the one in D&D that destroys the world.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot remember its name off the top of my head, and I'm sure if Finn is in the comments, he will remind me of it. Or if he's in the chat, he'll remind me of it. Or I'll remember it in 15 minutes. Point is that, yeah, all of those are all dragons, including things like coatls, the feathered serpents from, Aztec mythology. Including sea serpents. And if you try...
Yeah,
yes,
water
they're
dragons.
water dragons. So if you try to say that any of those things are in any way remotely related other than they're reptiles, you're fucking insane. But they are all dragons because there's no definition of what a dragon is other than it's cool.
It's because we don't have a real depiction.
Yeah, so people have just said, oh, well, I'll just make this thing and say it's a dragon. And so there's this giant taxonomy where you have to look at, well, how many legs does it have? And how many wings does it have? And can it fly?
The closest thing we have to a real dragon is a Komodo dragon.
Yeah, which is not a
And-
dragon at all. It's just a lizard.
Did you know a lot of people didn't think such a thing existed?
Yeah,
Because Komodo dragons are in like a remote part of the world. And the only reason we rediscovered them was because I think people were following some kind of book. They had pictures of this Komodo dragon, said where it was. We got a documentary of how we found it, and we rediscovered it to the world. It's a... I can't remember where they're at. Where are they at? Where are Komodo dragons located? I know it's
I'm not
some
sure.
island,
To the crime scene.
like not near Africa. Is it near China or Japan? I think it might be China. It's some island near China.
Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Yeah, so it's between China and Australia.
Okay, so I was in the right ballpark.
Yeah.
Anyway, they are in a remote place that a lot of cameras and people can't exactly get to. So we ended up getting them in zoos and stuff like that so we could see these Komodo dragons. But that is the closest thing we have to a real dragon.
Yeah.
But you have to think about all these cryptids and stuff. Like, they could be the depictions of something that existed, has existed, or still currently exists. It's just evolved into something we can't recognize.
Yeah. It's like, I get that. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like in a lot of cases, what people want to say and never say because it would be too easy is just say, they can just shapeshift.
Yeah, so let's go into this a little bit.
Yeah.
So I've also just discovered not long ago, maybe a year or two ago, that Bigfoot camouflage. I'm like, okay, that's nothing new. But when I talk about camouflage, I'm not talking like, you know, it can hide in marshes and use its hair to appear as bushes and stuff. No. I don't mean like ghillie suit levels of camouflage. I'm talking transparent, interdimensional levels of camouflage, like cloaking.
The stuff where it's just like,
technology.
okay, you guys have gone insane.
So,
Probably a little bit too high up.
so there's two depictions. Actually, no, there's three depictions of Bigfoot, and one of them's my depiction. My depiction of a Bigfoot is it is an evolved form of Gigantopithecus that went extinct a long time ago, and is an actual real-life animal that we have skeletons of, and you know,
It's pretty. I mean, I think a lot of people just assume it's either that or Neanderthals.
yeah.
So it's like, that's the standard.
So I'm thinking, okay, so this is an evolved form of Gigantopithecus. It has somehow found a way to gain some kind of sentience, because in order to hide from all of the world, you have to have some intelligent intent in order to hide yourself that well. So, just as how we evolved into something sentient, maybe it's possible that another ape species also gained some kind of sentience and is living in the forests of the U.S. and all around the world today.
Yeah.
And we've just not truly grasped what they truly are, besides evolved creatures that could be on the same level of intelligence as we are.
I would sooner believe that it's elves fucking with people, because that would make way more sense. Of just something like an elf just being like, yeah, you know what? Let's just fuck with humanity. Let's just put these random giant footprints everywhere, and that's gonna confuse people. We'll just make random sounds that play out in the woods, and it'll fuck with people.
So the other depiction of what Bigfoot could possibly be would be some kind of demonic, malevolent creature. And honestly, that could be.
The thing is,
it's not.
The thing is,
far
if it
off.
was demonic, like malevolent, you'd assume that we would have more like horror stories about them.
Oh,
but
believe
in most
me,
situations,
we
it's,
do.
Well, yes, but that's not the common.
In most
view of it.
situations,
In most situations,
it's
just like, oh, he's a recluse.
They're curious. They just they
it's
look
like,
at you. They don't.
I
really
feel like if it was demonic,
you.
the common depiction would be, oh yeah, stay away from those things. They'll just murder you. And but that's not.
But
that's
they are
not the
dangerous.
depiction. Yeah, of course they're dangerous if they exist. Like, It's basically walking up to a fucking giant. Of course it's dangerous. It could just fucking, like, crush your skull. Like, yeah, of course it's going to be dangerous. But it's like, but that's not the message we get. That's not the view we get from, like, society and most people's experiences. It's just like, so it's really weird.
Yeah, so
I feel like that one's unlikely.
So, demonic creature, it lures you into the forest to kill you, and honestly, it can, because like I said, they mimic.
Yeah.
They can mimic a baby crying or a woman screaming. And
But again, it's just like...
Yeah. Like, it is...
It could happen, but it's just like... But then why do we get so many stories about people just seeing it, and no stories of people dying?
Other thing it could be is an extraterrestrial. And the only reason this has come to light is, A, the cloaking technology. It would make sense why they can just turn invisible. We can do that now, but we have to reflect certain lights.
I was going to say, it's basic. It's near impossible.
It is very hard to do.
Yeah.
So, okay, that could explain the cloaking. That could also explain... So, another way Bigfoot can lure you out into the forest to possibly ambush you, lights. They are said and have been shown to emit very strange lights at night. Sometimes in white flashes, others, it's like an orangey red glow. And it's
we get right back
strange.
to my submission. These aliens, which I'm going to call elves, are fucking with people. Just
like we get all these different accounts, like Bigfoot can swim. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Animals, a lot of animals can swim, and apes have been shown to swim. Okay, I can believe that. Bigfoot can camouflage.
That's not really an ape thing.
If it can camouflage, it's something like a ghillie suit. I'm not sure if I believe the transparency.
Yeah.
Right. By the way, still talking about Bigfoot being a demonic creature. Sometimes they do show up as, like, shadow people. And it's very strange. You catch a glimpse of them in the darkness. They are transparent in nature. And all you see in your light is a glimpse of a shadow. It is very strange. So that means they could be on another plane of existence, and the only thing we can see is their shadow. Like, it is just a haunted forest.
Look, look, as a person who said that I don't hate Super Paper Mario, I am not comfortable with things on other planes of existence. Get out of your extra dimension and get into our dimension. Or stay out of our dimension.
But, yeah.
Pick a dimension, bitch.
Bigfoot being an extraterrestrial could explain, again, why we can't capture these fuckers, because they have some kind of technology that can elude our own. Like, they are so far advanced that we are just, like, decades behind them. And again, the one I like to believe is it's just an animal that we misunderstand and we don't have the full...
Yeah, it's like... And that's the thing with a lot of animals. It's like we don't fundamentally... We as humans are stupid. No matter, like, we have all this technology. We have all this stuff that we've built through, like, ingenuity and intelligence, but we are fundamentally stupid people. We will delude ourselves into believing whatever is the most convenient for us. Like, let's not forget that less than 30 years ago, it was considered a good idea to just cut out your appendix unnecessarily, just as a fashion statement, because it was completely unnecessary for your body. You didn't need it. And now we find out, oh, actually, no, that's very important. Please leave it in. We have no fucking idea about anything. We don't know how our own bodies work. We don't know how the fucking ocean works. We have no clue how anything works.
Yeah, anybody that says we have explored the entirety of our planet is fucking wrong.
Nope. We have explored more of space than we have of our ocean.
Exactly.
Like, it's fucking... And that sounds ludicrous. That is not It
Like-
really is not.
We haven't probably even explored every inch of the forest, let alone the fucking ocean.
Like,
Guys, there are still new animals and new discoveries being made every day.
yeah, space is not the final frontier. Your fucking oceans are still the final frontier that you still haven't cleared. So is the land. Please don't clear the land. Please do not kill all the trees. I'm not advocating for killing all the trees.
So let's talk about how Bigfoot eludes us a little bit. So it can cloak, okay. That could explain why it can elude us. But what we can't exactly explain is why haven't we found remains of it? And I'm wondering if we have just mistaken it for Gigantopithecus. We have renamed Bigfoot to be Gigantopithecus. And
Here's the
that
problem
is
with
the
that.
remains.
That sounds logical and all, but the problem is that, well, let's ignore the fact that trying to say that there's a race of creatures on our planet that's technologically advanced enough that we've never spotted them ever, or that we've never done anything more than like minor spotting of them, because they're that far advanced that they can absolutely cloak themselves at all times. Let's ignore that whole argument that we could have. But let's just get back to the body thing. The problem is we don't find flesh-covered bodies. We don't even find
We rarely
recently
find bones.
decomposed bones.
Yeah.
Anytime you find something for like a Gigantopithecus, it's millions of years old. Or at least it is by carbon dating,
Yeah.
depending on if you want to believe that carbon dating is correct or not. Point being, there is no conceivable evidence that any of this creature has ever recently died.
So wrap your head around this, guys. You know bears. Bears are in the woods. They attack people.
Yes.
It is highly unlikely that you can go out hunting every day for the rest of your life and not find a single bear skeleton, let alone remains. It is not possible unless you go searching or get lucky. It is very, very fucking rare to find animal remains of any kind, including bear.
Yeah, and to be fair, that's not completely unsurprising because bones are nutrients, meat is nutrients. So it makes sense that
Yeah, the
you can
scavengers
find.
of the woods
Yeah.
will fucking rip it apart.
But with that said, you will still find bones. You will find something.
what the fuck? That guy was on that conduit box.
That's weird.
But anyway,
But yeah, so it's like, yes, you're correct that it is rare to find full skeletons or anything, but we don't for other animals. But it's not. But we have found them.
yes, you.
But when you have
You
an
do
entire
on
industry
occasion
of
find
people,
'em.
but when you have an entire industry of people, and again, let me step back and I'll ignore the very much mythological aspect to cryptozoology. Let's just look at them as an entirely scientific field. You're trying to say that an entire field of people whose sole existence is proving the existence of these creatures, their whole reason for like having a job and like doing all the filming and stuff that they do is to find these creatures. And not a single one of them can find one. Not a single scientist studying any area with animals that live there can find them. Ever. It's like, you have to believe that, like, again, I think that we're stupid, but it's kind of hard to mistake a, like, skeletal, it's hard to mistake the skeletal remain of an ape-like creature for anything else. Unless their skeletons are near identical to humans, then it should be near impossible for them to be never found.
And so let's explore this point. It is said why we can't find remains of Bigfoot because they bury their dead.
Yeah, but we also don't generally find, like, remain burials that with no explainable reasons out in the middle of the woods. Because, again, scientists would dig that shit up.
Like we have found abandoned cemeteries, communities, stuff like that.
Yeah, but we don't find any evidence of stuff like being recently buried or stuff or like non-human burials.
But
because again, these things are not small. These things are like 12 feet tall or whatever the fuck.
But we also can't exactly rule it out because,
Yeah.
believe it or not, I just found this out too. There are some animals that will bury their dead.
Yeah, burying the dead is not a uniquely human thing.
Like, I've heard tell whales do this. I've heard tell apparently elephants do this occasionally. Not all the time, but elephants do it. But that is fascinating to think about.
Yeah. And some animals do it as a result of human learned behavior. There are some animals that do change their behavior based on what people do. But no, elephants are not one of them. They do bury their dead. That is a real thing. And yeah, it's not a human exclusive behavior.
Yeah.
But again, the problem is that we know elephants bury their dead because there's a giant fucking burial ground, and we've dug it up and said, well, that doesn't look like a human burial ground because it's obviously way too big to be one. And if you assume that the Bigfoot is as big as it is, which is like 12 feet tall, there is no way you would mistake a burial site for a human one because the coffins aren't that big. It would physically be too big of a hole. You would have to know it's not a person, or that it's very strange that it's that big. So if you found a graveyard of extremely giant holes, someone's going to look in those. So
Yeah.
it's not possible that we've never found anything.
So discussing more about Bigfoot and supernatural form of Bigfoot. Apparently there has been on occasion, in fact, it has been recorded in several documentaries where somebody was tracking something big, was hearing whistling sounds as they were following it. Guess what they stumbled upon? A graveyard.
Yeah.
Bigfoot and graveyards apparently mix with each other. Like, it is
There is overlap.
yeah. So, again, like there's evidence to back all three forms of Bigfoot that I just explained.
That's the problem is that
And
there's a lot
to
of
me, it's
there's
like-
a lot of circumstantial evidence and a lot of eyewitness accounts, but there's never any hard evidence. And that's why people are loath to believe it, because it's like people believe what they see. Even if what they see is wrong, they still believe what they see.
So,
And it's like people aren't seeing this shit.
So
Although I say that, but again, in Japan there is literally a government bounty to bring a Tsukinoko to the government. So one of these days, maybe.
So these three categories of Bigfoot, supernatural one, alien, and as well as my account for it.
Yeah.
I honestly want to believe all three of them are one and the same. I want to say it's all factual towards this species.
Yeah. I don't think it's possible for it to be all factual. I think that you have to... At some point, there is going to be people making shit up. I think this is one thing that I think the cryptozoology community does not take into account a lot. This is one of the things that makes the cryptozoology community not scientists. Because scientists fundamentally have to accept that there are biases. Even when they don't, and not all of them do, I'll admit. But the goal of science is to eliminate bias in your studying methods. And cryptozoologists are loath to admit that any person might be making shit up. And it's like, yeah, it's perfectly acceptable to say, well, we've had thousands of documented cases of people coming forward and saying these similar things. And it's like, sure, I can believe that. But you're saying some of the random stuff that comes up, none of that's ever made up. Never. I cannot believe that. That is less believable than Bigfoot. It is less believable that it is more believable that Bigfoot exists than it is that no one is making anything up about Bigfoot. People are too creative for that.
Yeah. So
I believe in the writers of the world more than that.
So let's say all these 3 creatures are in fact different. They're different creatures, but what it doesn't explain is each of these 3 categories leave prints similar to Bigfoot.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it comes down to. As a reminder, you can always misattribute things. It is always possible that people are finding large footprints, and those are Bigfoot. But but other events are other creatures that also happen to be there at the same time.
Yes, and that
Like,
is also
so it's
a
like,
good
it's-
aspect.
Yeah, so it's like, but you are correct to say, hey, if we're finding all of this evidence of these random events and these footprints are showing up around them regularly, it's likely they are related. So I'm not going to sit back and say that obviously they're different things. You never know.
Yeah.
And we never will.
So, what's also more interesting about going back to talking about the sounds Bigfoot makes, it can even whistle.
Yep.
And there was one recording where it was like they had their own language. Like, it wasn't typical wailing or
Yeah, I mean,
anything.
it
It
makes
was
perfect sense.
just-
If your belief is that Bigfoot is a sentient creature, then they have to have their own language of some kind.
They sound very interesting and also very concerning because when the creatures are speaking to each other, they sound distraught. Like when they're speaking, it's like a gibberish. Like it's like wow 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 wow.
Well, yeah, it's the language. That's how languages generally work.
And the only thing I can think of that is even similar to that kind of speech would be an African language, and it's clicking.
Yeah, they're- yeah, I think
clicking and hand motions.
Yeah, they have vague. I remember vaguely that African language, which has a lot of hand motions and clicking sounds in it, and it's very strange.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it sounds cool. I think it's one of my favorite languages.
Yeah, I mean, from a linguistic standpoint, it's very interesting. I can't imagine speaking that on a daily basis, but it's cool.
But yeah, so they click, they do hand signals, but also they whistle.
Attention units.
So,
Received of a narcotic sale in progress.
with Bigfoot, we know they whistle. We know they make gibberish sounds. So I'm like, how far apart is it from just that African language? Could it be possible that Bigfoot is an invasive species and it has somehow made its way to the U.S.? Like, we know it's in the Himalayas. Like, we have Arctic Bigfoot. Like, a polar bear is just polar Bigfoot. So let's say these Bigfoot creatures didn't come from, like, Africa and made their way to the U.S.
Again, it's always possible. It's weird to call something an invasive species when because invasive species are generally things that are brought by people. So it's like it's more just it naturally migrated here.
Well, they all and naturally migrating species do exist.
Yeah, I'm just saying when you say an invasive species, that's usually talking about like plants or animals that were brought from a country to here by someone.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be here and then take over the environment.
But it also falls into the category of
So it's like
accidentally released, accidentally brought.
Yeah. I'm just saying that it's
That's
hard
what
to
I'm
call
saying
it's hard to
Bigfoot
call
could be.
Bigfoot an invasive species when people aren't bringing it here. It would just be that it got here somehow, and it's like, and that's perfectly natural. So it's like, I'm not, but I know what you're saying. It's something that came from Africa. That's why it has similar languages. Yeah, and again, perfectly possible.
The other thing it could be is their language could also derive from Native American speech.
Yeah.
Because they're, like, in some of these tribes, they used to coexist with these creatures, trade, even like, I don't know, not ritual kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sure there was, but I'm talking like they protected the forest from evil or something.
Yeah.
So
It's a symbiotic relationship is what you're looking for.
yeah, so I'm wondering if it's not African related, then it must be Native American related.
I mean, that's actually
And that's
actually more
likely.
interesting, because I think that's a more interesting angle to take on this, because there's precedent for stuff like that. Looking at other, now flipping back to the mythological side of things, looking at other cultures, you see this in Native American cultures. You see this in I think in Japanese cultures and Chinese like Japanese culture and Chinese culture and a lot of other cultures. They have a lot of spiritualism, and they'll have stories talking about like usually it's in regards to the forest, of like angering the forest or angering nature in some way, and they'll have these stories of similar to Godzilla, having these stories of creatures or entities that rise up to protect the forest. There are other types of that, though, other than like Godzilla. For example, there's a lot of like mythological background behind stories that are like placing a curse on somebody. And it is possible that you might be right. They might all be one thing. It could just be a situation where it's like a Native American curse of just like, you have driven us from our lands, and we're going to curse you with this creature that will create havoc and mischief and like hunt you down for sending us off our lands. So it's like, it's also possible it's something like that, where it's just, it is not a creature. It is an evil spirit that's there because we fucked over the land.
Yeah, like, again, the worst case I've ever heard of a Bigfoot attack, it was in one of my school books.
Mm-hmm.
That's how big of a thing this was. Can't remember where it was, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Class would have had that in their textbook.
It was part of some Native American thing we were studying.
Oh, okay, so Native American histories. Got it. Yeah.
But it wasn't here. It was like in the Himalayas, like somewhere around there.
Oh.
It was just
What the fuck?
it led into some history over here. I don't remember exactly.
I can't imagine what class you could have taken that would have been looking at like
It was
mythologies
history.
and histories.
It was history. That's all.
Well, yeah,
it
but I'm
was
just like-
history and science.
Yeah, I just literally can't think of any class that would possibly lead into that in any way.
Yeah.
But continue.
I've seen a documentary of this same thing.
Yeah.
It is the exact same incident. So it is a group of like school kids, and they won a trip to the Himalaya Mountains. So their trip to the Himalaya Mountains, they were gonna walk up. What?
Keep going.
They were gonna walk up to this cabin at the top, or near the top of one of the. It was a very high altitude cabin, and it could hold like 20 people. So an entire class went. This is like, I think, 30 different people. So 30 different kids. Some of them are filming. Like this is like in our time, guys. This is like maybe 90s, early 2000s. So they're going up this hill. Not hill. They're going up this mountain. One of the kids recording is getting an uneasy feeling, like they're being stalked. Well, him and like two other people, they leave. They leave, and the rest of them go up the mountain. So they go up the mountain. Everybody was getting these feelings of being watched, being followed, because they were hearing strange noises as they were going up this mountain.
Incident is ongoing in the West Village.
I think this was in the dead of night. In the dead of night, something strikes the cabin. It was the roof. It was the roof of the cabin. Something strikes it. Then it starts. All hell starts breaking loose, and multiple objects are striking the roof of the cabin, as in there are many stones being thrown at the roofs of this mountain cabin. So, what happens? A lot of people are recording their final moments. As in, everybody who was in the vicinity of that cabin dies. And when the authorities discover their bodies, they are mutilated beyond belief. Some of them are not recognizable anymore. And there were only 3 survivors because they turned back. Because they did not like the feeling of being stalked while going up that mountain. That is the worst case I have ever heard of involving something like Bigfoot or Yeti. Where an entire class of students, I think either college or high school, getting ready to graduate, dies a brutal death just because they go and spend a time at the top of a mountain. Like, that is insane. And here's the unfortunate thing, guys. I cannot find the book, and I cannot find the article or the documentary explaining or telling about that case. Yet I know it happened. It was on the news. Like, it happened. So, for those out there thinking Bigfoot is just curious, they're not just curious. If they can kill you, they might go for it. And in that situation, they went for it. Because some of these Bigfoot, if all of these are indeed the same creature, they are leading you out into the forest where they can ambush you. They're leading you with the crying of a baby, whistling, tree knocking. One thing is for sure, you should never, ever go out into the forest alone. In fact, you might not. You probably shouldn't go out in the forest ever. Because even 30 students weren't enough to challenge the might of, let's just say, 10 Bigfoot throwing stones at a cabin. Like, that is horrible. So, are people going to listen to me? No. The thirst for discovery is too great. And I'm not going to stop you, but I will caution you. If you go out into the forest, if you go out into the woods today, you're sure in for a big surprise, because you might die. Never go in alone. I see older bro has the Everest book.
Yeah, because this is what it was reminding me of, was that book.
And I actually never read Everest, but I do know of the book. I'm pretty sure Everest is just a book on the guy who walked up it, right?
I can't remember exactly what it's supposed to be about.
I'm pretty sure.
Like, I know it's about getting to...
I think it's about getting to the summit of Everest.
Yeah, 4 kids trying to get to the... Yeah, it's 4 kids on a climbing contest to Everest, basically.
Yeah, no. My story is about an entire class of students.
Yeah.
Now, here's the other thing that Bigfoot could remind me of. So, it has some kind of gibberish language, and it seems to not like people too much, even though they're very curious.
Oh, by the way, I did in fact remember the dragon that I was thinking of, and I said I remember in 15 minutes. It's been closer to 30, I think, but it was the Trask.
Right, the Jurassic. But anyway, so you know that one island that we have bordered off from the rest of the world?
Oh yeah, the one with native, uncontacted people who will fucking murder you if you get there.
I'm wondering if Bigfoot is a similar kind of civilization where they cannot perceive exactly what they are or don't want to accept what we are, and will just fucking murder you without any second thought.
But again, that doesn't play well with all the other instances where people are shown where you just see a Bigfoot walking around and they have to know you're filming them. There's no possible way that they're that daft if they're so fucking advanced that they can be camouflaged and,
Yeah.
you know.
A lot of people believe that Bigfoot know that you're looking for it. Because there's some instances where people are tracking a giant creature and are led astray.
Yeah.
Like, get this. Somebody... So, right now we have technology that we can make our own burrs, in effect. And you know what a burr is. It attaches to your clothes, and, you know,
Yeah.
you can be walking without even knowing that you went through a patch of burrs.
Yep.
So, we have a tracking burr, and it is designed to track animals.
Mhm.
I've seen it work. I've seen somebody track a wolf before. Obviously, they didn't, you know, keep following it, but they saw tracks.
Yeah, it tracked for a while.
Tracked it for a while. They knew they were following a wolf. At one point, there was a guy who used these burrs, and they had it like 8-10 feet off the ground, and something got latched onto it. Could be a bird. No, whatever it was moving at a pace where he could keep up with it. A bird you probably wouldn't be able to keep up with too well.
Yeah.
So this guy was tracking it, and what's interesting is he loses the signal, and it leads straight into the water. And on the other side is like some kind of mainland.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the shortest distance between whatever part of the country he was in to the mainland. And that is really interesting. If Bigfoot is semi-aquatic, that means they have a travel route including in water.
Yeah. To answer your question, Mr. B, also welcome back. To answer your question, Bigfoot is way more scary than Nancy because the fear of the unknown is always more scary than the fear of the known.
But anyway, what that guy came to think of was, did Bigfoot purposely get into the water to short out my device? Another better example is trail cams. How the hell can you avoid like 10 to 20 trail cams at once?
Mm-hmm.
There's one trail cam I seen where a Bigfoot or something similar passed in front of the camera, then threw a rock at it to try to break it.
To be fair, Mr. B, we don't know Bigfoot's stats, so I can't answer that question. Also, just winning in a fight does not necessarily make you less scary. Or more scary.
So, I want to say Bigfoot has to have some awareness that we are tracking its location in some way. How? Don't know. It's evaded capture this long. It's very hard to explain.
But I would presume that if we actually try to figure out their stats, I would say probably Bigfoot, assuming that he actually has, like, ultra technology.
I mean, Bigfoot is in Earthbound. You did find Sasquatch, remember?
Yeah, but Nancy's stats are higher.
Yeah, I still think Nancy would win against Sasquatch in game.
Yeah.
In real life, that robot would probably be torn to shreds.
Yeah. But see, this is the kind of thing, and I want to be clear. As much as I do find this conversation a bit stupid, because again, I am not a purveyor in the belief of Bigfoot. However, I do want to say this. I don't care about this conversation from a creature standpoint. I care about this from a Bigfoot standpoint. I care about this from a human standpoint, because this argument interests me because of the fact that people will, because of like the arguments basically, just on their own, people will believe the most insane things rather than believe the most simple thing. Like, the simple thing is everything is explainable, probably unconnected, or people just making shit up, and there is no Bigfoot. But people don't like that. Nobody likes the boring reality of that Bigfoot is not real. They would rather Bigfoot be real, and so they'll go to any lengths to explain any inconsistencies. They will go to any lengths to make him more interesting, because it's more interesting for him to exist than it is for him not to exist.
Like, guys, I
love this from a creative writing standpoint.
Like, I would like to describe myself as, like, a optimistic field biologist. Would I like Bigfoot to exist? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, but it's the same way but to me, it's the same way that I would love elves to exist.
I
would love dragons to exist. Those are fucking cool and interesting.
I want solid proof. Like, I need a body in front of me.
Yeah,
proof.
And you will never get that. Never.
Or if I can't have a body, maybe a captured live animal.
Still a body. But I know what you mean. But yeah, never gonna get that.
Like, it has to be in front of me.
Yeah.
Like, I love talking about this because it is probably the more interesting stuff about what could be out there.
Yeah.
Like, so just to tell you guys, a lot of the animals that we've rediscovered recently, some of them, mainly fish, were portrayed in an artist's book, and this artist's book is very fragile, so fragile that even light itself can damage it. Like, in this book, it portrayed a platypus. It portrayed giant piranha, specifically the black piranha.
Yeah.
Like, stuff you were like, in those days, like, no, there's no way this exists. And, well, we have a platypus in this book. That does exist. We found it.
Yeah.
We have it in zoos.
Yep.
We've discovered the black piranha. Like, it is huge.
Yeah, but therein lies the problem. And this is the fundamental contradictory nature of cryptozoology. Everyone says they want Bigfoot to exist, but cryptozoologists don't want Bigfoot to exist. If there's any people out on the planet who do not want Bigfoot to exist, it's cryptozoologists. Because once Bigfoot exists, once you can put him in a zoo, he's boring.
And it also could maybe dissolve a little bit of the faction within zoology.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that once Bigfoot's a real animal, or even a real sentient creature, it stops being cryptozoology and starts being science.
Yeah,
and cryptozoologists don't want that. So the funny thing is, the people who talk about Bigfoot the most are the ones who want him to exist the least.
And that's...
Hey, Tryhard, how you doing?
Hey, Tryhard, thank you for the...
the 1,050 bits.
50 bits.
We going back to the year 1050, apparently. I don't know what was happening in the year 1050.
But yeah, that's why I would like to classify myself as a field biologist, because
You look at it from the more academic standpoint.
Exactly.
Yeah. And those are the people who probably want him to exist the most.
And
it's
I
like,
wouldn't.
that's cool and interesting. Let's find that creature.
Yeah, and I wouldn't fall into cryptozoology because there are some things I just don't believe in cryptozoology. Like,
All units, we've got a situation involving civilians trapped in their vehicles.
I can't think of any creatures off the top of my head, but there are some of them that are just so far-fetched. Oh, I know. Like, let's talk about the Mothman for a second. It's not that I don't want the Mothman to exist. The thing I don't want to exist is some of the portrayals of the Mothman. What I mean by that is...
That's $20 in bits. That doesn't sound right. I thought a bit was a penny.
So, when you think about the Mothman, what do you think of?
Oh, like, what do I think of?
Yeah.
Basically just a humanoid moth.
That's the one I believe in. However, there are other accounts where it is a demonic creature. It is...
But anyways, thank you for the bits, tryhard.
It is a giant bat-like creature with fangs. It is jet black with red eyes.
Yeah.
Out for blood. Now, can the Mothman attack you? Oh, absolutely. I'd say it's more dangerous than Bigfoot. But a big bat-winged creature? I don't think that's a Mothman. I think that's something vastly different. To me, what you're describing is like a giant vampire bat. I don't foresee the Mothman being that. But then again, we have not really seen the Mothman. Like,
yeah. Sorry, by the way, tryhard. If I hope that this conversation's interesting to you, because we have been going on about it for an hour and 13 minutes.
So with the Mothman, we have like 2 pictures of it.
Mr. B, don't make me write up a complimentary thank you message.
Anyway, we have like 2 pictures of the Mothman, and they're very dated. They're like black and white images.
Yeah.
It's not really something that comes to light very often as Bigfoot does. Bigfoot is more common than the Mothman.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the Mothman is only in one place. I can't remember.
I'm the executive producer. It's my job to handle PR. No, that's the PR manager's job. But that we only have the executive producer role right now, so I guess you're kind of everything.
But yeah, I don't subscribe to the big demon-like creature with red eyes. I want the big furry moth man with no arms.
You want
and
Finding
just legs
Bigfoot,
and wings.
Bigfoot.
But yeah, let's talk about the different species of Bigfoot. So how many species of Bigfoot do you think exists?
Oh, I'm guessing probably near 50. Something stupid like that.
I'd say you're probably around the ballpark. Like, I also agree that...
There's the swamp ape. Yeah, I already mentioned the Jersey Devil, the Yeti.
There's the Cherokee Devil. There's the Jersey Devil.
Yep.
There is the swamp ape. There is the skunk ape.
Yep.
There is the Yeti. There is the Bigfoot.
Yep. Let's just throw Abominable Snowman in there, even though he basically is still a Yeti. But people still insist that he's a different thing.
But, yeah, there are a lot of different variants of Bigfoot. So, is it possible that we do have different variants? Yes, it is.
It is possible. I mean, again,
it's entirely possible.
We have very, here's the thing about it, is that it's not that there can't be variants, because of course there can. Any animals have variants.
Yeah,
That's
like-
just natural.
Take macaws, for example. They have multiple different...
Yep, there's multiple species of macaws or multiple species of birds. There's multiple species of bears.
Thank you for the subscription, Tryhard.
Woo! Thank you for the subscription, Tryhard. Tryhard's just spending all the money on us today. As a reminder, guys, we do not require anyone to spend any money on Two Bros Game Night. In fact, we don't really consider ourselves worth spending money on, but we appreciate any time anyone does. Is Younger Bro a variant of Bigfoot? No, he's a Goomba.
I mean, I do have big feet.
I mean, Goombas do have big feet, but that
That's
does
what I'm
not...
saying.
Having big feet does not mean you're a Bigfoot.
But anyway, could there be multiple different variants of Bigfoot? Yes. Are there over 50?
Probably not.
Yeah, like there's only what 20.
Like I'm looking at, here's the other problem. The problem is if you start breaking this into a taxonomical analysis,
Nearby units advised. Witnesses called in mugging. Incident is
Younger Bro has never been documented. What do you think this channel is? This is a documentary to Younger Bro. There's photos of us. We've produced them. It's on every thumbnail of every video. Like,
Yeah, and we're evolving like Bigfoot. But anyways, back to what we were saying about variants of Bigfoot.
but the thing is, if you start breaking this down to a taxonomical thing, if you assume Bigfoot's a real creature, it's like, no, he is probably not going to have that many variants. It's probably going to be, there's probably going to be, like, variants based on, like, weather, like, based on the different environments he grows up in. But it's not going to be, you're not going to have any of the shit that's about, like, him having cloaking technology and any of that stuff. You're not going to have the supernatural stuff in it. It's just going to be normal animal stuff. So there's going to be, like, maybe 5 variants.
Like,
Nothing like 50. He's not a bird.
yeah, like,
Unless he's secretly a bird. But given his footprints, I doubt it.
yeah, I want to say the Cherokee Devil, the Jersey Devil, the Drumming Brothers, all of them are the same type of Bigfoot because they're in the U.S.
One of those you had to have made. You had to have made up the Drumming Brothers. That can't
No,
be real.
that is real.
That's fucking stupid. My God.
So the Drumming Brothers, I can't remember where it is, but it is a place in the U.S. Where we have trees that grow these big, like, let's call them tumors. They're big, round objects,
Mm-hmm.
and what the Drumming Brothers will do is they communicate by hitting those. They also hit something else that is in that area, and it is abandoned or used, like, I think they're oil or gas
Yeah, the like,
cans,
tanks. Yeah.
and they're huge, and the Drumming Brothers would drum on those as well,
1034. There is an assault
and that's why they got their name,
needed in the meat
because they hit those, and they make drumming signals to each other. It sounds like a, I don't want to say it's like a, it's like a bass drop going off all at once.
Yeah, by the way, guys, I would suggest that that if you're going to donate and give bits, I would suggest that you hold off until like the upcoming announcement video that we're gonna have in the next couple weeks, because that will that may adjust whether or not you want to donate. So we're not gonna give any spoilers about what's gonna be in that video, because I haven't talked to Younger Bro about all the stuff that's gonna be in that video. So
Oh yeah,
just a heads up that there will be some changes around Two Bros Game Night for the foreseeable future, if not permanently.
yeah. There's also the Stonish Giant, like. So there can be multiple different variants, but I want to say there's probably closer to 10. There may be 10 unique different variants.
Mr. B, we don't have a salary yet.
Like, there are some Bigfoot portrayed as an orangutan, Like, it has orangutan-like features. That's usually the skunk ape.
Yeah.
Officers respond.
I think it was the skunk ape. There's a very famous picture of a field biologist. She was out looking for the skunk ape. She smelled something awful in front of her. She took a picture, and she did not like what she saw. No. It was some giant creature with fangs bearing, staring at her in that picture, and she fucking got out of there.
Yeah.
Active drug deal reported. Any units in the
By the way, how
vicinity
close are we to
respond.
getting this damn
Report came in
achievement?
from Hamilton Heights.
Well, I know we hit 80,000. Oh, we completed it. When the fuck we completed it?
God damn it.
Okay.
We're wasting our time!
Alright, I guess I'll do the rooftop one next.
Yeah, save.
But anyway, I want to say most of the variants are probably one and the same creature in the US. Like, if
Yeah, it
we
could
have
be.
multiple different variants in the US, I would say it would be closer to like 3. There's like 3 different Bigfoot in the US.
Yeah,
And
but
everything else is pretty much the same. Like, there are some Bigfoot that are silver-haired and colored.
Yeah.
In the U.S. I'm just like, that could just be an old Bigfoot. Why do we have to make a new variant? It could just be old.
that's the problem with trying to analyze the stuff like that, is that if you don't have enough evidence of what they are, you can't describe something as a variant.
But, like, the thing about with gorillas and apes, they get gray hair when they get old.
Yeah. I don't think that
So,
would count it.
it wouldn't be out of the possibility.
Yeah.
They also could have seen albinism, albino Bigfoot.
Yeah. Albinism is always a possible thing.
Attention, report received.
So all these reports like, yo, yeah, Yeti in the U.S., but
I'll tune my earbuds
that
to
could
listen
just
for
be
sounds of someone
an
struggling.
albino Bigfoot. But then again, we don't know because you never actually caught the creature or
Yeah.
really filmed it. You kind of just told me about it.
Yeah. To be fair, Mr. V, the announcement video could pertain to you in some way, but that would require me to, that would require a different thing to happen. But it's not monetary-wise.
But yeah, guys, I'm one of the people that are as optimistic about Bigfoot. I would very much like for it to exist. And if it did, I would go to the first 2 that featured it.
Officers needed in the area of Columbia.
But
Let's be honest, though. Younger bro would still prefer dinosaurs to Bigfoot.
like, speaking of, like, dinosaurs in real life, we kind of have that. We have living fossils.
Well, yeah, but it's not the
But
same
that
thing.
is the closest we get.
Yeah.
But we're talking, like, big, giant reptilian-type animals.
Yeah.
So would I like dinosaurs to exist? Yes, but I also am one of those people that enjoy dinosaurs.
You
But
enjoy
I-
them 50,000 feet away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, if we had a herbivore today, okay. But T-Rex, I'm
No.
gone. I'm
I mean, to
gone.
be fair, people are they're still trying to recreate the woolly mammoth so that they can solve the problem of Siberia being like frozen over.
Yes, but that was like Sarah. I can't pronounce it. It's that was the Ice Age,
Yeah.
not really dinosaurs.
Yeah, not dinosaurs.
But if we're talking like dinosaurs, closest thing we got today is a crocodile alligator.
Yeah. Or alternatively, birds.
Like, as an alligator evolved, it got smaller. Because we have things like a Suchomimus. That's a dinosaur. Sorry, Sakasuchus.
I was gonna say just the
Or
the,
Super Croc.
Yeah, I was gonna say just super croc.
Like,
Unfortunately, regular croc is not here.
yeah, did you know alligators would survive the apocalypse? It would survive the destruction of the world.
Yeah. Or Tryhard coming in here, like, spending way too much money. Did you get, like, a bonus at work or something? Have you been saving up money for this?
Thank you, Tryhard.
Carpet just being
sure
like, let me
Carpet-
just gift sub to Carpet.
I'm sure Carpet is
I think it's just
grateful.
I think it's just random, but
Attention unit.
But anyway.
Robbery in progress. Suspect
I'm not even sure Carpet's here right now.
is near Lincoln. Over.
So that's gonna be very surprising to Carpet.
The reason alligators didn't evolve much and just kind of shrunk is because Sakasuka survived the meteor hitting the planet.
Yeah.
They
Well,
can
fair enough. Fair enough, Tryhard.
They can go years without eating or moving.
Yeah.
They can put themselves in kind of
Hibernation, basically. It's like, well, it's basically a coma.
it's a stasis-like event. It is very intriguing.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that's going to lead to the discovery of
Reported. Approach
stasis cubes and stuff like that. Cryogenic chambers.
I mean, we already have that. Well, not stasis cubes. We have cryogenic chambers.
I'm saying, like, would be able to freeze us and, you know, we'd live through that.
Well, I mean,
Like, freeze us 1,000 years later, reawaken us.
theoretically, that's a thing.
Well, it's probably a thing now.
No, I mean, Walt Disney's in one.
Currently?
Yeah. The problem
thought that
is
was
nobody
myth.
knows how to revive him. So it's one of those things where they have the technology to freeze you. They don't have the technology to unfreeze you. So for all intents and purposes, he is dead.
I thought that was a myth.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that's a real thing. Like, I can look that up, though. But that technology does exist. It's just they can't... Like, yeah, you can do that, but
Officers be advised.
we have no idea how to
Reported.
to unthaw you. So it's like, good luck with that.
Well, we don't yet, but 2 million years in the future, maybe we might.
Yeah.
I honestly wouldn't want to awaken in the future anyway, especially if it's when the sun is about to explode.
Yeah.
So honestly, that's probably a given when you die. You don't have to burn. Quite literally.
Okay, yeah, that is a myth. He is, in fact, cremated.
Yeah, I was about to say, like... But anyway, so... Are there sightings of dinosaur-like creatures? Yeah, I've heard documents of a pterodactyl-like creature. I've heard documents of Nessie, plesiosaur, and Loch Ness. But I don't think it's a plesiosaur in Loch Ness. I think it's something else. Because whatever this creature is in Loch Ness, apparently, I just found this out, it can echolocate.
Mm-hmm.
And normally that's found in rodents, like bats, flying rodents. Shrews do it, apparently. I just found that out.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, all the aquatic mammals, whales, dolphins. That's what you associate echolocation with. Not really reptiles. And a plesiosaur is an aquatic reptile. So if it can echolocate and it does exist in Loch Ness, it is probably the first documented case of a reptile using echolocation.
Yeah, that really isn't normally a reptile thing. I mean, there's honestly, it's not a lot of things.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to think. Because here's an interesting fact about Loch Ness, and there's even the surrounding lakes around Loch Ness have their own, like, Nessie. That entire area did at one point have salt water. So whatever was in it could have evolved to the point where it can breathe fresh water. But what the fuck is it? It can't be a plesiosaur. It's too evolved for that. So what could it be? A lot of people think it's sturgeon. Could see it. But I think a lot of it might be misidentification. Like in one instance, there's a photo of Nessie and it has its head sticking out.
1034.
Well,
Assault
a
in
reporter debunked it
progress.
with
Over.
like CGI, and he's saying it's a log. Did you know logs and sticks? So what happens is they can lose their flow and they sink to the bottom, right? Well, somehow they can regain their float. They float back to the top of the surface and burst through it, then sinking back down. And then that's it. It never resurfaces again. It is... I can't remember exactly what it is or how it does it. But some of these eyewitnesses reports could be, you know, a upside down tree breaking the surface that was in the water for a really long time. But yeah, to me, if Nessie or Plesiosaur really exists, it's out in the ocean. We just have to go find it. That's where I would say, okay, we have things like Megalodon. We got the giant squid. Those exist. We have camera proof of it. We did find bodies of it, so.
Armed robbery reported. Please respond. Officers needed in the East Village.
But is it possible out there is a real life T-Rex stomping around? Probably not. Nah. I've had too many nightmares where that was the case, and I really don't want it to happen. Like, guys, I've kind of trained myself to detect when I'm about to have a dinosaur dream. It is when I know the earth is shaking. That's when I'm like, oh, shit. There's a T-Rex around the corner or just outside my window. I know it. And sure enough, I end up being right, and what I do is I hide. I hide. As, like, a T-Rex is peering into my room, it is very vivid.
So yeah, I can confirm that there are in fact people that are stored in cryogenic chambers. So that is a thing that exists. And there is no current technology to revive them.
But yeah, guys, I would go crazy if a real life dinosaur was found, but if it's a T-Rex, I'm not going anywhere within like 20 miles of it. Keep me the hell away from it.
All units advised, we have an assault reported in progress. Officers needed in Tenderloin. Please copy.
Because I don't know if we'd be able to house a T-Rex anywhere.
No, we would not.
Like, you gotta think about it. An animal
Animals
that
escape
big,
from zoos all the time.
If that
Do
got
you
out,
really trust zookeepers to keep a T-Rex?
we would have a real life Jurassic Park.
Yep. There'd be so many lawsuits. Something like that happens, the zoo would go bankrupt. Like, it would be impossible to survive that. Remember, human lives are in the millions of dollars.
Yeah. I also gotta wonder, speaking of like zoo escapees, do you think it is possible that Bigfoot could just be an escaped chimpanzee or something that evolved over time?
Need an officer on the scene. Any officers near Central
Possible,
Park?
but unlikely.
Proceed to the scene.
Because
Evolution is not that fast.
I also learned about this.
Sorry, macroevolution is not that fast. Microevolution can be in like a year or two.
Yeah, so Bigfoot are not portrayed to have tails or anything like that, but they are documented to have reportedly be in trees. And honestly, that's not exactly far-fetched, and it could explain why people follow it and then they can't find it because it climbed a fucking tree.
Yeah. Now,
And
by
it's
the way,
above you.
just confirming, it has been over an hour and a half. Are we doing 2-hour stream or an hour and a half stream?
2 hours.
'Kay.
And sorry, I should be doing this. I'm trying to find a good roof.
Yeah. I don't know if you're going to find very many good roofs. I just
Yeah,
go
I-
from rooftop to rooftop in a small area.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to find, and I wasn't really finding anything.
These have kind of small roofs, so this might not be a bad spot.
So it wants me to do that. Like,
Yeah.
you know how I'm
Where
yanking?
it flips over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah, that one's a bad roof because it has stuff right there.
No, you can do it. Even it's just I wasn't far enough down.
Yeah.
But anyway, so could Bigfoot be a factory experiment gone wrong and it got loose?
I mean, sure.
Maybe.
It's always possible. As a reminder, guys, every single disease that has ever existed, scientists have in a lab somewhere. They also have modified versions of those diseases. As a reminder, there is literally the CDC has anthrax
Yeah, that makes me wonder.
and modified anthrax.
So let's go back to the point of, you know how they're bringing back the woolly mammoth,
Yep.
rhino, and the saber-toothed tiger.
Sure.
What if theoretically this could be the factory experiment? What if they were trying to revive Gigantopithecus and it got out and was released?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that technology doesn't really work that way. They're not trying to bring back the woolly mammoth by creating a woolly mammoth. They're
No, it's gonna be a new.
Yeah, it's
breed.
literally going to be an African elephant, I think, or like that's going to be bred with like an egg. It's going to have an egg put into it that is
Actually, it
that is
might be the Asian elephant now.
something like that. But one of the elephants is going to have like the genetics put into it, like an egg put into it with the genetics of that original animal, and it's going to be like crossbred. So it's not going to it's not going to work the way that people think it will. So it's like, yeah, we really don't have that level of genetic modifiable ability to even do something like that.
Yeah, not without remains. We do have remains of Gigantopithecus, but
Yeah.
not to
what
the
you're
level of woolly mammoth, because we
Yeah.
have a perfectly preserved body of a woolly mammoth.
Yeah, the thing is with Gigantopithecus, I don't believe there's any genetic material left. Like there's bones,
have
but
to
not
be-
but not genetic material.
It would have to be something.
Like
It would have had to been a Gigantopithecus, like found in some kind of
in like frozen in ice, basically.
frozen in ice, or
Yeah.
in dang it, what do dinosaurs get stuck in? It's some kind of oil.
Oh, tar.
Tar, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because
Tar pits.
we found the woolly rhino in tar, I believe.
Yep. But yeah, so it's like but I don't think we have any DNA of it, and so it's like that's the reason why it's actually impossible to bring back dinosaurs,
Like,
because it is not we do not have any genetics, we don't have enough genetics to even make viable. We can't even guess. There is so little that there's not even enough for us to guess at the gaps, because the gaps are so big that they're more than 95%.
Like, guys, there was a recent discovery where we found.
Yeah. Gotcha, Tryhard. Well, have a good evening. Thanks for
See you,
all
Tryhard.
the donations and subs and gift subs. We do appreciate it.
Like, guys, very
You are awesome.
Very recently, within like the last 5 years, we did find a more preserved T-Rex skeleton and got a lot of DNA from it. Like, it was like undecayed DNA,
Yeah,
which was great.
But it's never
But
going
it's
to be
still
enough.
not enough,
It's
because
never
we
gonna be
don't have, we still don't have the full genome. Now, it
Yeah.
might have boosted the amount of data we had on the genome,
but we're never gonna get even close to enough.
Because guys, even if we did get 100% of the DNA, what are we gonna replicate it with?
Yeah.
What animal?
Attention unit.
Nothing. There
we
is nothing that
to
we
get
you would.
that?
That's the point. Is you would have to. This reaches the level of. It's not just you could do something like the woolly mammoth and recreate it by evolution and by like microevolution and like repeated breeding. With something like that, you would have to literally create it from the ground up.
Yes.
And we cannot do that. We cannot create an entire creature from the ground up. We do not have that tech.
Yeah, as Ian Malcolm said himself in one of the movies, dinosaurs were selected for extinction for a reason.
Yeah.
What that reason is, don't know. But I can say this much. I'm happy that we don't have T-Rexes roaming the fucking streets and smashing our cars whenever it fucking damn well pleases.
Apparently, yeah, the genome there actually has they completely sequenced the genome of the mammoth due to that completely preserved one.
Yes.
So we have the
famous
full
one,
genome
correct.
of the woolly mammoth. No methods have been no methods are feasible currently.
All I know is we're getting very close.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we'll probably see one within the next 20 years. That's how close we are. 20, 30 years, we'll have one.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, so the one I was talking about, the one where you take a female egg from like the woolly mammoth and put it into an elephant. That one is just straight up cloning. That would actually just create a clone. And that would be fully a woolly mammoth, no crossbred. It would just be a woolly mammoth directly. But there is not enough DNA to create an embryo to be able to actually do that method. So that method's impossible. The other one, the artificial, like taking sperm cells, and like crossbreeding, is not possible because sperm cells are only viable for 15 years.
Yeah.
Even deep froze.
Yeah, even the longest DNA decays within 100 years. So that's why it is lucky that we get any amount of DNA. Like 1 in a million chance. That's why that T-Rex discovery was so big.
Yeah, there's so many ethical problems with it, and so many like genetic problems with it, and it's just like it's.
I think I found my roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, we got 650 out of 1,000.
I get about 2 every time. I think that's the best I'm getting, and I can also swing onto it pretty easily, and it's pretty straight. Like, there's no, like, obstructions, really.
Yep.
I can just keep running up and doing this.
Obstructions unclear.
But, yeah, we would have to have a perfectly preserved Gigantopithecus in order for us to have maybe a real Bigfoot.
Again, just to be clear. the technology. So, this actually has some modern, like real world, like current, stuff in it. So let me, I'll go over this right now. Within the last 5 to 10 years, we just finally created. Have you heard of have you heard of CRISPR?
No.
So it is a basically it's the ability for us to edit our own genomes. So basically, it's like you can go in and actually gene edit creatures.
Oh yes, yeah. It's basically what Elon Musk is doing with his chip implants.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily that, but it's
it's in the same category.
Well, see, that's just a technology implant. That's just putting it in your body. But like CRISPR is specifically going in and editing your DNA.
Okay.
Like actually modifying your own DNA and other creatures' DNA. We just got to that level recently. The level you would need in order to get, and that's the problem. Well, that's been within the last 5 years. We finally created an ability to even begin to do that. In order for Bigfoot to be over 40 years old, which I believe that, like, first-hand accounts of it have existed for over 40 years, you would have to believe that we had that technology in secret for the past 50 years and turned a normal ape into a Gigantopithecus somehow.
The earliest,
and it's like, that's impossible.
The earliest documented Bigfoot sign was in 1904.
Yeah, so there's no way we've had the ability to modify our genes, and specifically those of an ape, and turn it into a Bigfoot for over 100 years.
But there are Native American stories and architecture and like images and
of creatures like that.
Of creatures like that existing centuries before that documentation.
Yeah, because the Native Americans were here for like several thousand years before we were. So, yeah.
And here's the thing about Native Americans and Bigfoot. They don't really like to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because a lot of them just consider it, A, to be stupid, but B, because it's like, it's...
They believe it to be
in
a curse. Or
it's a curse / supernatural creature, and it's like, it's
kind
something
of
that's
frowned
like,
upon in your community to talk about them.
Yeah, basically, it's part of their culture and history, and it's like, if, again, even according to the ones that we have heard about, it's like they are supposed to protect it. So it's like, of course they're not going to talk about it, because it's like either they believe their culture and history and don't necessarily revere it, but they don't speak of it because it is wrong to do so, or they hate their culture and find it stupid. So no Native Americans want anything to do with this shit.
Yeah, like, there are some depictions where they would offer, like, sacrifices to the Bigfoot to keep the Bigfoot, from destroying their cattle, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Could explain why they're so enraged sometimes, because they are pissed off that we didn't keep feeding them. But, I'll just say this. If Bigfoot is real, it is very scary, and you should keep your distance at all times.
Yes, absolutely.
Bring a gun, because you're going to need
Annie,
it.
get your gun. Oh, I am very tired. It has been a long stream and a lot of talking about Bigfoot and mythological creatures and fantasy creatures and very exhausting. Very talkative.
So I know older bro, if he could have a mythological creature exist, he would want it to be Tsukinoko. That's probably
I don't know if I'd necessarily say that of all supernatural creatures, I'll just generalize this to all fantasy creatures. If you gotta understand, like the Tsukinokos are cool, but if you're broadening this to say it can be any fantasy creature, any mythological creature, any supernatural creature, like there's a shit ton of things that exist out there that are cool. Tsukinokos are cool, but like, yeah. You're asking me to choose between, you can have dragons, you can have elves, you can have Tsukinoko. Let's go in, like, I can go into the more terrible directions and say you could have succubus, you could have mermaids, you could have like, yeah, like I could list fantasy creatures for literal days. And you're like, oh yeah, that's the one. You'd choose Tsukinoko over all those. It's like, oh fuck no, I'm not trying to make that choice. But Tsukinoko are absolutely cool, and I find them more interesting than Bigfoot.
Yeah, like me, I like herbivores and gentler creatures. So if I could have a mythological creature exist that is like maybe a friendly giant or just, you know, friendly in nature, probably something along the lines of like a Pegasus or a unicorn.
Yeah, Pegasus, unicorn.
That I would like to see. And again, a lot of these creatures, it's like, could maybe exist.
Yeah.
Like,
let's include vampires in this shit.
Like, let's debunk a Tsukinoko here for a second. I want to say the whole thing surrounding a Tsukinoko existed because somebody saw a juvenile snake of some sort.
Yeah, it had eaten some kind of rat.
Something, and it puffed itself.
Yep. Yeah, it's very, very likely. That is what pretty much everyone says when they're like, yeah, this is probably what it is. And they're right. It is probably what it is.
Now, let's talk about a unicorn here. If it existed,
you mean rhinos?
A lot of people would say yes, a rhino, but I'm talking.
Yeah, you talking actual horse with horn.
Horse with a horn.
Yeah.
Could it exist?
Yeah, I mean, probably.
If it does,
it's probably just some kind of like
real.
Yeah.
It could be an extinct creature that we've yet to identify.
Yeah, could be. Very possible.
Now, Pegasus, I have no idea where the hell you're getting that from.
Yeah, I mean, how the horse with wings. It's like, fucking hell. Yeah, and then...
What do we know of, like, four-legged creatures with wings besides dragons? Like...
Ooh.
Like, I'm a field biologist, and I don't really have anything
well,
off the
obviously
top of
we
my
have...
head.
Yeah, we obviously have dragons. We have Pegasus. We have, like, chimeras. We have griffins. Those are generally four-legged.
No, I'm talking, like, real animal. That exists.
Nothing. There's pretty much nothing that has four legs and wings, I don't think.
Like, we have 2 legs and wings. We don't really have flying herbivore. Most of our animals are flying omnivores or
yeah, most things
carnivores.
most things that are herbivores wouldn't want to fly because plants are on the ground. So herbivore behavior wouldn't lend itself to flying.
So what could have inspired a Pegasus? Honestly, I would say Pegasus, specifically, that one might just be human invention. Because
it's probably something biblical, honestly. Something like that. Because I'm, like...
Okay, yeah.
You'd probably get something from a source like that.
Okay.
Some kind of, like... But it could also be, like some kind of mythological creature from thousands of years ago. I don't know.
Let's talk about it from a biblical standpoint. It could be a dead horse, and if it's an angel...
Oh, no, we can't beat a dead horse.
But
the horse of an angel, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you can get
it
something
is the
like that.
angel version of a horse.
Yeah.
So I could be like, okay.
There's a lot of fantasy games that do stuff like that, where it's like it's a heavenly horse.
So that could make sense and why it has wings. But it's never really portrayed with a halo.
No. It's not necessarily dead. And halos are like, well, depending on your source used for dead things.
Yeah, if it's biblical, it could just be a species of horse we can't identify until we're in the next world.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm gonna need to lay back.
I don't know why I left that one building.
You got distracted.
Yeah, sorry guys, a lot of this is just us running around and web slinging. But yeah,
It's probably not a bad. It's probably not a. It's probably making your point a little bit too well. That when I typed in four-legged creatures with wings, dragon was what popped up.
we're at 750 out of 1,000. Oh, terrible. Yeah, outside of some other demonic creatures, there really isn't a animal that exists with 4 legs and wings.
Yeah.
Like in real
Well,
life.
generally that's because the things with I can give you an evolutionary explanation for why that is. It's because it doesn't make sense. And like, okay, obviously I know that like looking at things entirely from just biological standpoints sometimes doesn't make a lot of sense. Because, for example, you get things like bees, which should not be capable of flight, and yet they do anyways, because bees don't give a shit what scientists think they can and can't do. But, ignoring that, here's the problem with... and weirdly, this was kind of explained in... This is kind of explained in the... it's not Artemis Fowl. What the fuck? Maximum Ride. In Maximum Ride, they had a group of kids that gained wings. Because there was literally the apocalypse happens and they gain wings and they
Yeah, they basically go through a mutation.
yeah, they're mutated and they get wings. But here's one of the problems with having wings. Creatures that have wings do not have the same kind of biology as creatures without wings. And obviously, they have wings, and one has wings and one doesn't. But that's not the point. In order to fly, something must be extremely lightweight. Like, human beings, horses, ground-walking animals without wings. We have very solid bone structures. Our bones, yes, you can break them somewhat easily, but our bones are very hard. But
yeah,
the
we have
wings,
like more fat on our bodies.
yes, we have a lot of fat. We have a lot of muscle. We have a lot of thick bones. Like, there is a lot of weight and density to us. Creatures with wings are the exact opposite. A lot of them don't. Some of them don't have bones at all. A lot of them have a lot more cartilage than we do, which is extremely flexible and extremely lightweight. And that's the thing, is creatures with wings are always much more... They have more hollow bones, more lightweight muscles and fat and, like, body structures overall. And that's why you don't have things that are four-legged with wings, because generally speaking, four-legged creatures are very dense, and things with wings are very not dense. And those two things don't really mix. Because again, in order to accurately fly, you have to be able to carry the entire weight of your body. It's like, yeah, humans could have wings. If we had no body modifications, we could have wings. If they were like 80 feet long.
Location is Cathedral.
Because that's how big you'd need to have fucking wings for us to be able to lift our own damn body weight.
Yeah, you have to be Icarus from X-Men.
Yeah, they would be ludicrously big. In fact, let me actually look that up. How big would wings need to be to pick up humans?
Big and powerful.
How big would wings be for humans to fly? Wow, thank you. If humans had wings, what would their wingspan be? Okay, so this person asked this question, and they've given probably a good answer. It's not the exact answer I'm looking for, but it's close enough. So, there's an extinct bird that's called the Argentavis magnificens, which had about the same weight as an adult human. Its wingspan was 7 meters. And for people in U.S. American units,
Condor?
7 meters is 4 times the average human arm span. So, arm tip to tip, 4 times that. And again, that's a bird, which is not dense.
Like, how big is a condor's wingspan?
I can check that out. Let's see. Let's assume you're talking about the Californian condor and not the Andean condor. 3 meters. So, 9 feet.
Fuck.
Sorry, almost 10 feet. So, in order for, again, so the best assumption is 7 meters. And that's if you're assuming that, and again, the birds have body modifications that don't exist in humans to allow them to be able to fly better.
Attention units, we've got reports of muggings in the area.
Which, again, would not work if you just grafted wings onto a person. Let me look up 7 meters, 2 feet. So 7 meters would be 23 feet. So again, that's not realistic. It is not realistic at all to assume that 7 meters would work. And this article then continues on. Hang gliders, which allow humans to, in quotes, fly,
It's more of a glide.
which is gliding, are 9 to 10 meters wide. And those still don't let you fly. So a more accurate response would be a closer to 10-meter wingspan, which is 33 feet wide.
You ain't getting on buses or going indoors.
Yeah, your wings probably aren't going to fold up as like tight as you want them to. They're probably still going to be about 10 feet wide, folded.
You'll be working for the Pelipper Post for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the problem, is if you just assume you graft wings onto people as is and they can move them and they could fly, yeah, you're looking at probably close to 10 meters, 33 feet wide.
So that would... And horses are even heavier.
Yeah, they're much heavier than us. So, yeah, you're talking 100 feet wide, probably.
So...
Like, that's impossible.
So hippogriffs and griffins are probably have inaccurate wings, and they're just fantasy.
It's not necessarily that they have inaccurate wings in media. It's more likely that they have those body modifications, that they're not horses, that they're more bird-like. But yes, they probably are unrealistic and probably should be wider. By the way, we are now overtime.
Yeah, like, guys, I could talk about zoology, cryptology, field biology all fucking day.
And we will not.
At least not for this stream. So, yeah, we
exhausted.
finished one benchmark.
And we got closer to finishing another one.
Yeah, last time I checked, it was like 750. We're at 873.
Yeah,
So
that'll be
we'll
done next
probably
time.
finish that next time.
Yep.
Okay, so that is going to have to be it for today's episode. So like and subscribe to YouTube and Twitch. Comment to videos, do read them. Follow on Twitch. Bigfoot is out there. We'll see you guys in the next Spider-Man. Goodbye.
Good night, everyone. He probably is not.